Have you ever been in an English conversation, really trying to connect, pouring your heart out maybe, only for the other person to kind of lean in and say, I'm sorry, what did you say? Or maybe I can't quite understand you. Mhm. Mm. That feeling, right? That little sting of confusion or frustration, it can be incredibly disheartening, especially when you've put so much time and effort into learning English. You might find yourself wondering why. Why is this still happening? Am I missing something really fundamental here? Hmm. Or maybe the challenge is on the other side. You're watching your favorite English TV show or a movie, totally captivated by the story, and then suddenly, whoosh, the dialogue just flies by. It's like a blur of sounds, isn't it? And you're left thinking, how will I ever understand this without subtitles? It's like trying to catch raindrops with a sieve. The words are there, you might even know them, but they just slip right through your grasp. We really, truly understand that feeling, that deep desire to communicate clearly, to express yourself confidently, and to genuinely grasp what others are saying, especially in real-time conversations. Please know you're absolutely not alone in this journey. That invisible barrier, whether it's in speaking or listening, it's a really common experience for English learners. And it's something we're going to try and dismantle today. Well, today we're embarking on a deep dive. We're going into some truly fascinating insights that honestly, I think will profoundly level up your English speaking and listening skills. Think of this as your essential shortcut, not just to sounding more natural, more fluent, but also to finally unlocking the rapid-fire, interconnected sounds of English as it's truly spoken in fast, everyday conversations. We're going to pull back the curtain on some really powerful techniques. Okay, let's unpack this. In this deep dive, you're going to discover some practical secrets to achieving a clearer, more confident American English accent and a powerful, proven method to finally understand that fast spoken English. Get ready for some serious aha moments, the kind that just make everything click into place. At its heart, learning any language is about connecting with people, right? That's why we do it. We want to share our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas, and just as importantly, truly understand those of others. It's about building bridges, forging connections, sharing experiences. But sometimes, like we just touched on, it feels like there's this invisible barrier between what we think we're saying or hearing and what's actually being communicated. Whether it's our carefully chosen words not coming out quite right, or maybe other people's words flying too fast past our ears for us to process, that gap can be incredibly frustrating. And this isn't just about expanding your vocabulary or mastering complex grammar rules, though those are essential, of course. It's really about the very sounds, the rhythm, the musicality of English that make all the difference in real-world communication. It's those subtle shifts and connections that native speakers make almost instinctively. And that's precisely why this deep dive is so crucial. We're going to focus on those elusive elements, the things that often aren't explicitly taught in textbooks.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is that often the core of the difficulty isn't actually in knowing the individual words themselves. You might have a fantastic vocabulary, you might understand the grammar perfectly on paper. The challenge often lies in how those words are pronounced when they're strung together and how they're connected in a natural, rapid-fire speech. Think about it. Native speakers don't pronounce every single word distinctly perfectly like they're reading from a dictionary list. Not at all. We frequently reduce sounds, we link words together in ways that aren't immediately obvious when you just see them written down, and we use specific intonation patterns, rhythms that differ significantly from how words are typically taught in isolation or how they might appear on a page. So you could know every single word in a sentence, understand its grammatical structure perfectly, but if your ear isn't trained to catch these natural transformations, these shortcuts, or if your mouth isn't accustomed to producing them, well, then that communication gap, that invisible barrier, it just persists. Your brain might be trying to process individual words very deliberately, while the native speaker's brain is processing this connected stream of sound almost like a single unit. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, achieving clarity in your speaking and genuine proficiency in listening isn't just about sounding American or understanding fast talk as some kind of academic exercise or, to impress someone. It's not really about that. It's about gaining the profound confidence to participate fully in real conversations without that underlying stress, that anxiety, or that self-doubt that so often plagues learners. We see it all the time. It's about being able to engage authentically without constantly replaying phrases in your head or feeling like you're missing crucial bits of information or worrying endlessly about how you sound. This raises an important question for you, listening right now. How much more rewarding, how much more freeing, honestly, how much more fun could your English interactions be if you truly felt understood and if you truly understood others with ease? Just imagine the new friendships, the career opportunities, the depth of cultural immersion that could open up with that kind of confidence. It's about truly participating in the English-speaking world, not just kind of observing it from the sidelines.
Absolutely. The potential for connection and growth is just immense when these pieces click into place. It's really transformative. So let's tackle the speaking side first. Imagine being able to articulate those tricky sounds and phrases, the ones that often trip up learners, the ones that create those little hiccups in communication, those moments where you see the other person's brow furrow just slightly.
Oh.
We're going to pull back the curtain and reveal some, well, maybe surprising secrets to an American English accent that will make you significantly more understandable and more confident in your spoken English. And here's where it gets really interesting. We're going to break these down by starting with 5 common American English phrases. Why phrases?
Right, because it's in these everyday expressions, these natural chunks of language, that pronunciation rules truly come alive. They're not just isolated words.
Exactly. These are expressions you'll hear and probably use constantly, and mastering their natural rhythm and flow is a huge step forward in sounding genuinely natural. It's about the music, not just the notes. Okay, our first phrase, a real classic you'll hear all the time, is, "The grass isn't always greener on the other side." Shoo. This phrase, basically, it means that things elsewhere often look better than what you currently have, but they usually come with hidden costs or, unforeseen downsides. It's kind of a cautionary tale against constantly wishing for what others have. You see it a lot, for example, when people look at someone else's life on social media and think it's absolutely perfect, right? All sunshine and rainbows. But in reality, social media isn't always real, is it? It's often just a highlight reel, not the full story. This phrase is about realizing that what looks like paradise isn't always true once you get there, and maybe contentment lies in appreciating what you actually have.
hmm And for this phrase, pronunciation-wise, we're really going to zoom in on a hallmark of American English, the colored R sound. This is a very strong, very distinct R. In American English, the R is pronounced almost like a gentle growl, kind of felt at the back of your throat. Some people say it's like an angry dog making that grr sound, but maybe a bit softer. You hear it prominently in words like grass, greener, and other. And it's particularly essential when the R is at the end of a word, like in greener and other, or when it follows a vowel sound. Many languages either don't have this specific R sound, or they have a trilled R, or maybe a very soft, almost silent R. This one is different. To make the American R accurately, your tongue doesn't usually touch the roof of your mouth. Instead, it pulls back and kind of bunches up towards the back of your mouth, forming a slight dome shape. The air then flows over or around it, creating that distinctive R resonance. If you don't produce this R clearly, especially at the end of words, well, native speakers might struggle to understand you, or you might sound like you're saying a different word entirely. Like car without a clear R might sound more like ka. Getting this R sound right immediately makes your speech sound much more native-like because it's so central to the American accent. It's a really key sound. So let's really lean into it. Try it with me. Feel that strong R coming from the back. Grass, greener, other, ha. And now let's practice it in a few more words. Really push that R sound from the back. River, doctor, world first, learn. Feel that tension.
That R sound really does make a huge difference. Wow. It's like adding a key ingredient that changes the whole flavor of your speech. Totally. Okay, our second phrase introduces another subtle but really powerful change. Better late than never. This is often used when someone is late but wants to apologize, maybe with a little self-deprecating joke, acknowledging they're late, but highlighting that they still showed up. I've definitely had to use it a few times myself when I'm running just a few minutes behind schedule. Oh, sorry, better late than never, right? It implies that it's still good to do something, even if it's delayed, rather than not doing it at all. It's about the value of eventually getting there.
Right. Now, with better late than never, listen very closely to the word better. Did you hear a hard, crisp T sound, like in top buter? Or did it sound more like a soft D, beider? In American English, when a T is nestled between vowel sounds, or sometimes a vowel sound and an L sound, it often transforms into what linguists call a flap T. And this flap T sounds much more like a quick, soft D. It's not the strong D you hear in dog, but a very fast, light tap of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just behind the teeth. Some say it's similar to the single R sound in Spanish words like pero, You hear this flap T not just in better, but in a ton of common words, like water sounds like water, sweater sounds like sweater, city becomes city, and even computer often sounds like computer. This reduction is incredibly common in everyday American English. If you try to pronounce every T as a hard T in these places, your speech can sound a bit stiff, overly formal, or maybe even a little aggressive, which isn't the natural conversational tone. Recognizing and importantly, producing this D sound where a T is written is absolutely key. Key to both sounding natural when you speak and also to comprehending fast everyday conversations. So many learners struggle with this because they're taught T is T, but real world speech is often different. So let's practice this flap T. Try it with me. Better. Water, sweater, city, computer. Focus on that quick, light D sound tap.
Amazing how that subtle change, that little flap, can open up so much understanding. It really is like realizing there's a secret handshake in the language or something. Okay, for our third phrase, we have one that's great for managing stress or maybe hurt feelings. Don't get bent out of shape over it. This basically means don't take something too seriously, or don't get overly upset or annoyed, especially over something minor, or maybe even over criticism that is meant to be constructive. Like, imagine your boss gives you some feedback about your work. It might feel a little harsh in the moment, maybe sting a bit, but then you realize they're just trying to help you grow. You might tell yourself, okay, don't get bent out of shape over it. They're just trying to help me improve. It's about keeping perspective, not letting minor annoyances just consume you.
And here, we're delving into two very common phenomena that really help native speakers sound fast and fluent. Stopped T's and linking. First, stopped T's. Many final T sounds in American English, especially at the end of a word or thought group, are stopped. This means your tongue goes up to the roof of your mouth, right behind your teeth, as if to make the T sound, but you don't release any air. It's almost like you're preparing for the T, but then just holding it there, cutting off the sound abruptly. So for words like don't, get, bent, and it, you'll often hear a very subtle or even completely absent T release. For instance, don't becomes more like don't with the tongue stopped right there, not dunta. Similarly, get is often gate and bent is ben. That final puff of air just isn't there. This stopped T is crucial for sounding fast and natural. If you release every final T with a big burst of air, your speech will sound choppy and maybe overly articulated, almost like you're trying too hard. Native speakers often omit that full T release, and if you're listening for it, you'll be constantly confused because, well, it's simply not there most of the time. Furthermore, in the phrase bent out of shape, you'll notice some very strong linking happening. When bent connects to out, that stopped T and bent often transforms into a flap T or a D sound as it links to the vowel sound of out. So bent out of often sounds like ben do do or bent to do, with a very fluid D or flapped T sound linking bent and out. Misunderstanding this kind of linking can make fast English sound totally incomprehensible because you're expecting distinct sounds that just aren't being produced. So let's try these stopped T's. Don't, get, bent, it. Focus on that feeling tongue goes up, stops the air. Now try the linking. Bent out of shape. Paying attention to that smooth connection, maybe like bent out of shape.
That truly makes perfect sense for why some words just seem to vanish or blend together in fast speech. It really is like they're playing a magic trick on your ear sometimes. Okay, our fourth American English phrase for today is, what goes around comes around full. This is a concept similar to karma, the idea that the consequences of one's actions will eventually return to that person. While it could theoretically be used in a positive sense, like good deeds bringing good fortune, honestly, it's overwhelmingly used in a negative sense, usually to describe bad behavior coming back to haunt someone. For example, if a coworker was always cutting corners, missing deadlines, maybe being generally unhelpful, and then they suddenly get fired, you might think, or even say quietly, well, what goes around comes around. He didn't respect the job or the team, and his actions finally caught up to him. It's a way of acknowledging a kind of natural justice.
Exactly. And for what goes around comes around, the key pronunciation point is a very common sound transformation.
Okay.
The S at the end of words like goes and comes often changes to a Z sound when it's immediately followed by a vowel sound, like the A in around. So goes around very smoothly transitions to sound like go Z-U-H round, comes around to sounds like come Z-U-H round. See how that Z sound just links them? This isn't just a stylistic choice, it's a natural phonetic assimilation. It makes speech more fluid and actually requires less effort from the speaker than stopping and starting with a sharp S. If you try to maintain a hard S sound in these instances, goes around, your speech can sound a bit choppy, unnatural, and you'll probably have to pause slightly between the words. The S sound is voiceless, meaning your vocal cords don't vibrate when you make it. But the Z sound is voiced z, meaning your vocal cords do vibrate. When a voiceless S is followed by a voiced sound like a vowel, it often becomes voiced itself, turning into that Z. The simple change is vital for fluidity and naturalness in spoken English. It's a super common characteristic of American English plural nouns and third-person singular verbs when they precede a vowel. So let's practice. Goes around, comes around. Feel that Z's vibration in your throat linking the words. Let's try a couple more. As always often sounds like as always. His eyes sounds like high's eyes. It goes up, sounds like it goes zoop. Feel how that Z just connects everything smoothly.
That really helps the words flow together, doesn't it? Makes the conversation feel much more continuous and less like individual blocks being laid down. Nice one. Finally, our fifth phrase is a really practical one for managing anxiety about the future. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. This idiomatic expression means you shouldn't worry about future problems right now. Instead, you should focus on the current ones. It's a great way to put things in perspective and avoid unnecessary stress about hypotheticals, about what-ifs. I remember when my family was raising 7 tiny baby chicks. Oh, they were adorable. But we knew that adult chickens would be a lot of work building a coop, feeding them, collecting eggs daily. It felt kind of overwhelming to think about. But we just kept saying, you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's just enjoy these little fluffy chicks while we have them and deal with the grown-up chicken responsibilities later. It really allowed us to enjoy the present moment without future dread.
That's a perfect example. And in We'll Cross That Bridge When We Get There, we're looking at a cornerstone of natural English, vowel reduction and contractions. The full form we will is almost universally reduced in casual, fast speech to the contraction will. Okay, that part's probably familiar. But the pronunciation of will in natural American English is often surprising to learners because it frequently sounds a lot like the word wool, as in the material from a sheep. Wool. The clear E sound in we often disappears, and the I sound in will gets reduced to a very short, indistinct oo or schwa sound, merging smoothly with the L. So we will becomes will wool. And this isn't just for will either. This type of vowel reduction happens with many common contractions. You'll hear you'll often sounding like you'll, rhymes with pool but shorter, and they'll often sounding like theul or even just thul. Oh, the full vowel sounds are simply not articulated clearly in fast speech. Contractions are absolutely ubiquitous in natural English. I mean, they're everywhere. So understanding their reduced forms is vital for both speaking fluently yourself and for comprehending native speakers. If you expect to hear a clear we will, what the speaker says will, it can be completely confusing and just break your comprehension right there. It's a classic example of how the written word and the spoken word can really diverge. So practice that reduction. Will, like wool, you, like you'll, like thul, feel how much faster and smoother they sound compared to the full forms.
Wow. Okay, so what does all of this mean for you, our dedicated listener, trying to navigate all this? It means that by consciously focusing on these specific sounds, the colored R, the flap T, stop Ts, S to Z linking, vowel reductions and contractions, and how they shift and link within common phrases, you're not just practicing isolated words, you are fundamentally retraining your mouth and your mind. You're retraining them to recognize and produce English as it's truly spoken. You're building a foundation of authentic pronunciation that will make a significant, really noticeable difference in how clearly and naturally you speak, and how easily you're understood by others. This is about moving beyond just rote memorization towards true phonetic mastery.
Exactly right. And beyond these phrases, there are also individual words that consistently pose a challenge, mainly because of their tricky endings. And these aren't obscure academic words you'll rarely use, quite the opposite. They're common, everyday words that, when mispronounced, or especially when those tricky endings are omitted or mumbled, can really break your clarity. They can make it much harder for others to understand exactly what you mean. So we've meticulously grouped them into 3 categories, moving from tricky to even trickier, so you can kind of build your skill progressively. Think of it like levels in a game. Let's start with our first category. Words ending in TH. Now, the TH sound itself is quite unique to English, right? And often English learners practice it diligently at the beginning of words like Thursday or think or thanks, and they do a great job there. But that same sound tends to get skipped or maybe softened or sometimes even completely replaced by an S or an F sound, especially when it comes at the end of words. This is a really common pitfall. For words like month, teeth, and fourth, the TH sound requires precise tongue placement. Your tongue tip must be gently out, visible between your top and bottom teeth, with a steady stream of air flowing over it. Fifth each. You absolutely need that subtle but distinct the sound at the end, or the word can be easily missed or maybe confused with something else entirely. If month sounds like mon, it just loses its clarity. People might not catch it. Take month. Many learners skip that final "the," making it sound like mon, but it's month with that little puff of air and the tongue between the teeth at the very end. Try it with me. October is my favorite month of the year. Really feel it. Finish the word. Next, teeth. Same idea. Tongue out. Steady airflow. Teeth. Practice. Later this month, I'm going to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned. See how we're building on the previous word, connecting them. And then fourth, okay, this one's a double challenge because it has that tricky American R sound before the TH, so you need the OR sound, pulling back, and then immediately bring the tongue forward for the night. Fourth, practice. I brushed my teeth after I ate my fourth piece of chocolate. Consciously producing that TH at the end of words makes a huge difference in your clarity and how naturally you sound. It's a phonetic signal that your listener really relies on. Don't skip it.
The TH truly is a unique hurdle, isn't it? Almost like a little phonetic gymnast move you have to learn. Okay, now on to our second category. And these are often genuine tongue twisters, words ending in SKS. These are tough, honestly. Sometimes, even for native English speakers, if you're trying to say them quickly or repeat them, it feels like your mouth has to do a quick little dance with your tongue at the end.
You're absolutely right. Words like asks, desks, tasks, and risks are prime examples where that SKS cluster can just trip you up. Asks. It's awkward. The key here, I find, is to slightly separate the K and S sounds mentally from the base word, almost as if you're saying ask S or desk S, but without pausing. You need to make sure both the K sound, a little stop of air, and the final S sound, the hiss, are distinctly heard, but crucially without adding an extra vowel sound in between, like askies or deskies, which would sound unnatural. So for asks, try focusing on the ask sound first, and then immediately adding a clear K sound right after it. Asks. You might hear it internally a bit like asks. For desks, think desks. The challenge is making that K and S clear without adding extra vowels, or just as commonly, completely dropping one of the consonants, like just saying ask or desk. For example, consider this sentence. When my son asks why for the fourth time, I tell him I don't know. If you say ask instead of asks, it's grammatically incorrect and it disrupts the flow. Doesn't sound right. Or the teacher asks the students to sit at their assigned desks. Needs both nouns. And for tasks, how about? One of my weekly tasks is cleaning off the desks. Again, you need those plurals clear. These consonant clusters are challenging for your mouth to navigate quickly and clearly, but they are incredibly common in everyday speech, especially plurals and third-person verbs, so mastering them is a big win for fluency. Finally, risks. The zookeeper's weekly tasks have some high risks.
Like brushing a lion's teeth. That definitely involves some high risks.
Exactly. And the impact of omitting that final S or the KS sound is significant. Plural nouns sound singular, and third-person singular verbs sound like their base form, creating confusion and grammatical errors.
Hearing them broken down like that, like ask us, really helps identify where the struggle often lies. It's like discovering the intricate mechanics of a tiny clock. And now, for the final, highest level of difficulty in our challenging word endings, words ending in STS. This is often even tougher than the SKS sounds because of that additional T sound sandwiched right in the cluster. It requires even more precise tongue work and breath control. It's tricky.
Absolutely. Words like tests, posts, and beasts truly present a challenge. For tests, it's pronounced tests. You need to articulate the first S, the T, and the final S distinctly. Your tongue does a very subtle, rapid movement for that T sound, flicking up briefly between the two S sounds, and there's a slight burst of air emphasis needed for each consonant sound. It's not a big, obvious tongue movement, but it's important that all three sounds are subtly present. Tests, for example. The skydiver always tests his limits with the risks he takes. If you omit that T or the final S, saying test or test, the meaning gets lost or it sounds grammatically incorrect. Then there's posts. A very common learner error is cutting off that final S or maybe the P or both. For instance, saying the teacher always posts the grades or posts the grades. That's grammatically incorrect and it just doesn't sound natural at all. You need that final S on post to indicate a plural noun or a third-person singular verb. It's post S. Try this one. The teacher always posts us the grades of the test S online. See, both have the STS. And finally, beasts. Again, that distinct STS sound at the end. Beasts. My uncle posts us pictures of mysterious beasts us online, but I know they're fake. These endings are so frequently shortened or simplified by learners, making plural nouns sound singular or third-person singular verbs sound like their base form. This leads to grammatical errors in speech and can make your English sound less natural and certainly less precise. That final S is truly essential for both grammar and natural pronunciation. Mastering these makes a huge difference in how polished and clear your overall speech sounds.
Okay, so What does this all mean for you, the diligent English learner listening right now? It means that by consciously focusing on these specific, often overlooked sounds, the TH at the end of words, the SKS consonant clusters, and especially those tricky STS clusters, you're not just practicing isolated words anymore. You are actively retraining your mouth, your tongue, and your mind to speak English more naturally and clearly, with all the subtle phonetic information that native speakers unconsciously rely on. You're basically giving your listeners all the information they need to understand you effortlessly without having to guess or fill in the blanks. It's about building that muscle memory for these complex but common sounds.
Exactly. And let's try putting it all together now. Here's a little story that purposefully weaves in many of these challenging words and sounds we've just discussed. Listen closely first, focusing on those endings, the TH, SKS, STS. And then I really encourage you to practice saying it yourself, out loud. Don't be afraid to sound a little awkward or slow at first. That's totally normal. It really is like exercising a new muscle group. The more you consciously practice these specific sounds, the stronger and more natural they become over time. Remember, it's all about progress over perfection. Okay, here's a story. Once a month, I take a hiking trip. One of the risks of this is running into wild beast TS with big teeth. My mom worries about me, so she always asks KRS for my checklist of safety tasks KRS before I go. When I was preparing for my fourth hiking trip, I ran some tests to check my rain gear. When I return home, I enjoy sharing pictures of nature and post TS on social media. I encourage all of you to take a break from your desk KS and computers and enjoy nature. Try saying that out loud a few times. Really push for those clear TH, SKS, and STS sounds. Pay attention to how your tongue and mouth actually move. It's truly like a physical exercise for your articulators, your tongue, your lips, your jaw. The more consistently you practice, the more these complex sounds will become automatic, part of your muscle memory, and the less you'll have to consciously think about them when you're actually speaking.
Fantastic. That mini story is a really great way to put all these new speaking skills into immediate practice. Excellent. Now let's flip the coin. Speaking clearly is one thing, and it's a massive step forward, definitely. But how about understanding those rapid-fire conversations, the other side of the equation? We've all been there, right? Feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer speed of native speakers. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Your brain feels like it's just scrambling to catch up, often missing crucial bits of information. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about listening more. It's about listening smarter. We're going to introduce you to a powerful, proven technique called the 4-step listening method. It has genuinely helped thousands of students decode fast English, transforming that frustration into real comprehension. And it can absolutely help you too.
Yes, the 4-step listening method is meticulously designed. It aims to transform the often frustrating and, let's be honest, passive experience of listening to fast English into an active, highly effective, and ultimately deeply satisfying learning process. It's not about magic. It's about a systematic approach that trains both your ear and your brain. We'll break down a real challenging conversation into manageable, digestible parts. This allows you to not just hear individual sounds flying by, but truly understand the meaning, the flow, and the subtle nuances of spoken English. It's a bit like learning to read music, maybe, where you first hear the overall melody, then you learn the individual notes, then you start to understand the harmony and how it all fits together. So we begin with step 1, the initial dive. This is your raw comprehension test, your baseline check-in. Here you simply listen to a short clip of real fast English, and this is key, with absolutely no subtitles, no text, no visual crutches at all. The goal isn't to understand every single word or even most words on this first pass, not at all. It's simply to gauge your current raw comprehension level and allow your brain to just grapple with the authentic speed and rhythm of native speech without any external aids. We're going to listen to a short, authentic conversation snippet between two native speakers. It's from Toastmasters, which is a public speaking organization. They're discussing the experience of giving an off-the-cuff speech, which, as we'll discuss, means a spontaneous speech, entirely without preparation in front of a group. You'll hear them describe it as something that's bound to terrify anybody, that it's the most uncomfortable part, but also, importantly, where you grow the most.
Okay, so just listen. It's definitely going to be tricky, and that's perfectly okay.
Right.
This is not a test to judge you. Please don't feel that way. It's simply to establish your starting point. Don't worry about understanding every single word right now. Just listen to get the general idea, the gist of it. What's the main topic? How do the speakers seem to feel? Try to capture as much as you can, and honestly, don't be discouraged if it feels like a blur. That's precisely why we have the next steps. Ready? Here it is, fast.
Simulated audio clip of fast conversation, 20 seconds. You will receive a topic or a prompt, okay? And you have to get up in front of the group and do a 1 to 2 minute speech off the cuff. Wow. With an introduction, just like any normal speech, it's bound to terrify anybody, right? And that's really the most uncomfortable part of the meeting, but it's where you grow the most.
Okay, how was that first listen? Pretty fast, right? For many learners, that can feel like a wall of sound just hitting you. You probably understood the general idea, something about public speaking. Maybe you caught the word Toastmasters. Perhaps you picked up a few isolated words here and there like speech or terrify. Uff. But could you understand every single word or even every phrase confidently? Probably not. And again, that's perfectly fine. That's the challenge. And that's exactly why we're here to break it down systematically.
Exactly. Now for step 2, slowed down insight. This is where the magic, or rather the clarity of slowing things down begins. After that initial fast listen, we replay the exact same clip, but at a significantly slower pace, maybe 75% or 50% speed. This allows your brain the extra processing time it needs to catch words, connections, and those subtle sounds that it completely missed at full speed. It's still passive listening in the sense that you're not actively writing or analyzing yet, but it's priming your ears. It's helping them to pick up those subtle sound reductions, the linking between words we talked about earlier, and the exact word boundaries much more clearly. This is a really crucial intermediate step. It bridges that gap between frustration and comprehension, helping your brain make sense of the sound patterns before you dive into the nitty-gritty details. It helps you recognize the individual words, even if they're reduced or linked, which then prepares you for active comprehension in the next step. Okay, here is the same clip slowed down. Listen for more details this time. Simulated audio clip of the same conversation, slowed down. You will receive a topic or a prompt, okay? And you have to get up in front of the group and do a 1 to 2 minute speech off the cuff. Wow. With an introduction, just like any normal speech, that's bound to terrify anybody, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the most uncomfortable part of the meeting, but it's where you grow the most.
See, notice how much more you pick up now. It's truly amazing what even a slight adjustment in speed can do to unlock clarity. Suddenly, it's not just a blur. You're starting to hear individual words and maybe even full phrases much more distinctly instead of just that continuous stream of sound. It's like turning a blurry photograph into something much clearer, allowing your brain to actually process the details. This step is really about building confidence in your ability to discern the sounds.
Definitely. Okay, moving to step 3, active engagement. This is where you truly transform from being a passive listener into an active participant in your own learning. This is crucial. In this step, you listen to the fast clip again, but this time you actively try to write down every single word you hear. This forces focused attention. You can't multitask or drift off mentally when you're transcribing, and it immediately reveals your specific listening gaps, not just a vague feeling that you didn't understand, but exactly which words or phrases you missed or misheard. This is where your brain forms explicit connections between the sounds you hear and the words you know or thought you knew.
Right, this is where you become a language detective, putting the clues together. Grab a pen and paper or open a note app on your phone, whatever you use to jot things down. We're going to listen to that fast clip one more time now, and I want you to try your absolute best to write down every single word you hear. Don't worry about perfect spelling or grammar in your notes. Just focus on capturing the sounds as accurately as you can. And feel free to pause, rewind, listen to a section 5 times if you need to. Do whatever it takes to get as much as you can down on paper or screen. This is your personal challenge, and honestly, pushing through this discomfort is where the real growth happens. Test yourself now. Really focus, because right after this, we'll ask some comprehension questions and clarify everything. Ready? Fast clip again.
Simulated audio clip of the same conversation, fast again. You will receive a topic or a prompt,
All right.
and you have to get up in front of the group and do a 1 to 2 minute speech off the cuff. Wow. With an introduction, just like any normal speech. That's bound to terrify anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the most uncomfortable part of the meeting, but it's where you grow the most.
All right. Take a moment if you need to finish writing. I hope you took a moment there to write down what you heard, or at least try to capture the essence of it. It's a challenging exercise, but incredibly rewarding when you start seeing progress. Now, let's dig into some comprehension questions based on that clip, and we'll break down some key vocabulary. This will help you pinpoint exactly what you might have missed and, importantly, why you might have missed it.
Okay, first question. According to the conversation, what do you receive when you go to a Toastmasters meeting for this activity? Think about what you wrote down. The answer is a topic or a prompt. Did you catch both? These are simply the subjects or the starting points for the short, spontaneous speech you're about to give. The speaker uses them interchangeably here, meaning they are essentially synonyms in this context. Topic, prompt, same idea. Next question. How long is the speech supposed to be? Speaker said 1 to 2 minutes off the cuff. Okay, let's unpack that phrase, off the cuff. This is a fantastic idiom. It means spontaneous, improvised, done with no planning or preparation beforehand. Imagine reaching into your shirt sleeve, your cuff, for a quick hidden note. It implies something done quickly without much forethought. So you're just given the topic and boom, you have to stand up and start speaking right away, completely on the spot. It's a very common expression in English to describe anything spontaneous, not just speeches. Third question. How does this type of spontaneous speech make people feel, according to the speaker? What was the word used? The word used was terrify. The speaker said, that's bound to terrify anybody. Now let's look at that expression, bound to. It's a really useful one to know. Bound to means definitely or certain to. So the speaker is saying it's definitely going to terrify anybody. It's almost a guarantee. Think of it like this. If you finally win the lottery after years of trying, you are bound to be contacted by random family members you didn't even know you had, right? Probably asking for money. It implies something that is absolutely certain or highly probable to happen given the circumstances. It's a strong prediction. And our final question, based on the clip, why is it good to give a spontaneous speech even if it's terrifying? What's the benefit? The answer given was, it's where you grow the most. And this connects directly to the importance of stepping outside your comfort zone in any learning context, but especially with English. If you never try something new, something that truly challenges you and feels a little uncomfortable, maybe even scary, you won't experience significant growth. It's just human nature. This type of speech format pushes you to think on your feet, organize your thoughts quickly, and articulate them under pressure, all incredibly crucial skills for real-world fluency and communication. It reinforces that idea that discomfort is often a catalyst for improvement.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for your learning journey? This active engagement step, step 3, it isn't just about checking comprehension boxes. It's about actively pushing past your comfort zone, just like giving that spontaneous speech at Toastmasters. It's about actively grappling with the language in a way that builds true, deep understanding and makes those fleeting sounds finally stick in your mind. This is where your brain truly starts remapping how it processes fast English sounds. It's hard work, but so worth it.
Definitely. And now for the final main step, step 4. Verification and integration. This is where you bring it all together and really solidify your learning from the previous steps. You take your written attempt from step 3 or transcription and you compare it directly to the actual full transcript of the conversation, which we effectively just revealed through the questions. This is where you connect all the dots, fill in any remaining blanks, and truly solidify your understanding of how words actually sound in fast, connected English. You'll see exactly what reductions, what linking sounds, or maybe which unstressed words you might have missed or misinterpreted. This explicit comparison helps your brain identify the specific patterns and nuances that previously escaped your notice. It's the critical step for self-correction and deepening your phonetic awareness. You see why you didn't catch something. Okay, so we're going to listen to the fast clip one last time now. As you listen this time, I want you to follow along mentally with the correct transcript in your head or look back at your corrected notes. Actively notice how the words link together, where sounds are reduced, like maybe and becoming an in, and how the intonation flows across phrases. This final listen, armed with full understanding, is incredibly powerful because your brain is now equipped with the knowledge it needs to process the rapid speech correctly. It's no longer a confusing mystery, it's a puzzle you've now solved. Listen again. Simulated audio clip of the same conversation, fast again. You will receive a topic or a prompt. Okay, and you have to get up in front of the group and do a 1 to 2 minute speech off the cuff. Wow. With an introduction, just like any normal speech. That's bound to terrify anybody, right? And that's really the most uncomfortable part of the meeting, but it's where you grow the most.
And as a bonus step, kind of the ultimate test of your newly refined ear. Listen to the original fast audio one more time, maybe later today or tomorrow, without any text, without any visual aids at all. Just listen. You'll likely be absolutely amazed at how much more you pick up, how much clearer it sounds compared to your very first listen just a few minutes ago. Your ears are now primed. They've been through the full training cycle, they've learned the patterns, they've made the connections, and they're ready to hear more. That transformation in your listening ability is incredibly satisfying. It shows the process works. So what does this all mean for your daily practice? The 4-step method isn't just about this one clip or one listening session we did today. It's a flexible, repeatable blueprint. It's a tool you can use for improving your listening every single day. with any authentic English audio you choose. Podcasts, news clips, movie scenes, anything. It's active, it's targeted, and it works because it systematically trains your ear and your brain to recognize the often hidden nuances of fast, natural English. It empowers you to take control of your listening improvement, rather than just passively hoping it gets better.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture again, this method fundamentally transforms what can often be a frustrating passive activity, just listening and hoping to understand, into an active strategic learning process. It systematically breaks down that overwhelming wall of fast speech into manageable, understandable parts. It allows you to not just hear individual sounds in isolation, but truly understand the meaning, the flow, the connections, and the subtle phonetic landscape of spoken English in its natural habitat. It gives you a clear, actionable strategy instead of just that vague advice you always hear to listen more. Now you know how to listen more effectively. You're essentially building a mental library of how English really sounds in real life.
Okay, let's unpack this even further now and bring it all together. We've meticulously looked at speaking with clearer pronunciation, focusing on those tricky American English sounds and phrases. And we've explored how to decode rapid-fire conversations using our 4-step listening method. Now, let's explicitly put them together. Because the reality is, these skills, speaking and listening, are deeply intrinsically intertwined. They feed each other.
Oh, absolutely. What you learn to pronounce better with your mouth, you often start to hear better with your ears, and vice versa. Your mouth and your ear effectively train each other in this fascinating feedback loop. When you understand how a native speaker physically produces a certain sound or links words together, it makes it so much easier to perceive it accurately when you hear it. You know what to listen for.
Exactly. So we've got some challenging sentences for you now. These sentences are designed to combine both aspects, giving you a chance to practice those tricky sounds in a more holistic context, both for speaking and listening awareness. And here's where it gets really interesting. These sentences contain multiple words that are notorious for tripping up both speakers and listeners, creating those frustrating little communication gaps we talked about at the start. Ready to test yourself?
All right, let's dive into 4 powerful challenge sentences. For each one, here's the process. First, I want you, the listener, to say the sentence out loud yourself, just as you naturally would right now. Then the host will say it, but they'll subtly mispronounce one key word. Your task is to try and identify that mistake. Finally, I'll break down the correct pronunciation for several crucial words within that sentence, highlighting common pitfalls and the nuances of native pronunciation. This isn't about criticism. It's purely about raising your awareness of these subtle but important points. Okay, challenge sentence 1. I buy clothes through the internet.
Okay, your turn first. Go ahead and say this sentence out loud yourself right now. I buy clothes through the internet. Listen to your own voice. How does it sound? Okay, now I'm going to say it, but I'll subtly mispronounce one word. Can you guess which one? Listen closely. I buy claws through the internet. Claws.
Did you hear it? The host said claws, rhyming with close the door instead of clothes. Now, while it's true that clothes can sometimes sound remarkably similar to clothes in very fast, casual English, especially with the sound being minimized or even dropped, it's important to know the technical difference and aim for it in clearer speech. The correct word is clothes, ideally with a very subtle voiceless z sound at the end. Clothes. Let's break down the other tricky words here too. Buy. This word is a homophone. That means it sounds exactly like bye, as in goodbye, or see you later, bye. B-U-Y sounds like B-Y-E. No special tricks here, just recognize the sound-alike nature. Clothes. As we just discussed, that final this sound can be almost imperceptible in super fast speech, making it sound very close to close. But if speakers are going slower or emphasizing, you might hear a very subtle the sound, where your tongue just barely touches or comes between your teeth. Clothes. The key is that the is part of the spelling and the ideal pronunciation, even if it's minimal sometimes. Through. Oh, this is a really tricky one for many learners because you have that voiceless, the sound tongue out between teeth with airflow immediately followed by the American R. It often sounds exactly like the past tense of throw, T-H-R-E-W, as in I threw the ball. To master this, focus on quickly moving your tongue from the forward, the position between teeth, back to the bunched up R position inside the mouth. Try making the sound through internet. This is a prime example of a word where a to sound is often completely cut out or maybe replaced with a quick flap TD sound in fast American speech, especially after an N. That middle T between the N and E is frequently skipped entirely, so it often sounds like internet or even inearned. If you articulate every T clearly here internet, it will sound a bit stiff or overly careful in most contexts.
Wow, that's a lot to pack into one seemingly simple sentence. Let's say the whole sentence correctly together now, trying to incorporate those natural reductions and connections. Repeat after me. I buy clothes through the internet. Feel that smoother flow.
Good. Okay, challenge sentence 2. The little girl took the receipt to the bus.
All right, your turn. Say this sentence out loud yourself first. The little girl took the receipt to the bus. How do you usually pronounce those words? Okay, my turn to mispronounce one word. Listen carefully. What sounds wrong here? The little girl took the recept to the bus. Recept.
Did you catch it? The host mispronounced receipt as recept, adding a P sound that isn't actually there. The key here is that the P in receipt, R-E-C-E-I-P-T, is completely silent, always. It's pronounced receipt, or maybe receipt, depending on the stress, sounding just like the verb receive, but ending in T. This is a classic silent letter pitfall in English spelling. Now let's break down some other challenges in this sentence. Little, this word is a perfect example of the flap T we discussed earlier. Those two T's in the middle become quick, soft D sounds in American English. So little sounds like little, almost like the word lid with an ul sound added after it. Little, if you say little with hard T's, it sounds distinctly non-native American. Girl. Oh, this one is notoriously tricky for many learners because of the combination of the R and the dark L sounds together. GRL. The sound is formed mostly in your throat for the G and R, and then your tongue tip should ideally be behind or beside your upper teeth for the L sound. The key is to avoid adding extra vowel sounds, like saying jurl or gurl. Your mouth doesn't actually move a lot. Think of it as one smooth sound. Girl.
Yeah.
Receipt. As we said, the P is silent. Receipt. Make sure you stress the second syllable. Bus. This seems simple, but many learners mispronounce the short U vowel sound. They might make it sound like bus using an ah sound, like in hot, or bus with a long boo sound. The correct sound is a very short central sound, like in cup or fun or up. Keep it brief and clear.
Incredible how much phonetic complexity can be hidden in such a simple sentence. Let's practice that whole sentence together now, focusing on those flap T's, the tricky RL, the silent P, and the short U. Ready? Repeat. The little girl took the receipt to the bus.
Nice. Moving on to challenge sentence 3. In the early winter, I didn't miss the warm weather.
Okay, your turn first. Go ahead and say this one yourself out loud. In the early winter, I did miss the warm weather. What do you notice about its rhythm, the sounds? All right, now my mispronunciation. See if you can pinpoint it. In the early winter, I didn't miss the warm weather.
Warm. Did you catch that? The mispronounced word was warm. The host added an extra syllable, making it sound like warum, when it's actually just a single syllable word. W-A-R-M. For warm, your lips should form an O shape at the start, and there's a clear pronounced American R sound pulling back from the throat. W-R-arm. Just one smooth syllable. It's not a two-syllable word like forum. Now for the other tricky words in this one. Early. A common error here is adding an extra sound, a schwa, in the middle, making it sound like three syllables. Early. The correct pronunciation is just two syllables, early, with the R sound gliding directly into the L sound. Your tongue should touch the back of your teeth for that final L. Early. It's a smooth two-syllable word, winter. Here we go again. This is another word where the T is often cut out or dramatically reduced in casual speech when it follows an N, so winter very often sounds much more like winner, as in the opposite of loser, than winter. This is just like how internet can become internet. If you emphasize the T strongly here, it will sound less natural in conversation. Winner, didn't. This is a very common contraction, and it's almost always significantly reduced in fast speech. The final D and T sounds are often cut short or almost entirely omitted. Sometimes it just sounds like a very quick throat sound, like did-n. DN. Understanding these kinds of vowel reductions and consonant omissions and contractions is absolutely vital for comprehending real-time speech. If you're waiting to hear a clear T sound at the end of didn't, you'll usually miss it because it's often not fully pronounced. Warm. Back to this one. One syllable, lips start rounded like O, clear R sound. W, warm. Weather. Make sure you use the voiced TH sound here, like in the weather. Not wetter with a D or weiser with an S. Also, that flap T again for the before the year. Wait up.
That's a tough one, especially with all those reduced sounds like in winter and didn't. Yeah. Now let's say the full sentence correctly, integrating the subtle changes. Ready? Repeat after me. In the early winter, I didn't miss the warm weather.
Excellent. Last one, challenge sentence 4. I definitely thought the water at the beach was salty.
Your turn to say it out loud first. I definitely thought the water at the beach was salty. Pay attention to those vowel sounds and consonant clusters. Okay, my mispronunciation for this final challenge. Listen closely. I definitely thought the water at the beach was salty. Sought.
The error there was sought, S-O-U-G-H-T, instead of thought, T-H-O-U-G-H-T. This highlights that crucial voiceless TH sound again, where your tongue needs to be firmly between your teeth with a clear airflow. Thought. It's a very common mix-up with the S sound for many learners. If you say sought, which means looked for or searched for, it changes the entire meaning of the sentence. Now let's break down the rest of this packed sentence. Definitely. This word is often reduced in very fast speech, sometimes even sounding like definitely or definitely. However, when you're focusing on clear articulation, aim for a clear pronunciation of each syllable. De-finitely. 4 syllables. The common mistake is to mumble or rush through it, losing those internal syllables and clarity. Thought. As we just emphasized, this word absolutely requires that voiceless TH sound tongue between teeth, airflow. Thought ought. It's a foundational American English sound that differentiates many, many words. Agree? Thought versus sought, thin versus sin, three versus free. Water, another classic flap T example. That T in the middle of water changes to a quick D sound in American English, making it sound like water. Trying to force a hard T here, water, will make your speech sound less natural in American English. Water. Beach. This word needs a clear, long E vowel sound, like the vowel in sheep or sea or reach. Beach. Many learners worry about accidentally saying a rude word that sounds somewhat similar, but honestly, the context usually makes it crystal clear you're talking about the ocean. Just focus on that sustained, bright, long E sound, maybe drawing it out just a little. Salty. Make sure that T sound is clear. It's not a flap T here. Salty. And the L sound is important too. Salty.
Wow, that sentence definitely packed a punch. It really pulls together so many of the challenges we've covered today. TH sounds, flap Ts, long vowels, multi-syllable words. Great practice. Let's say that last challenge sentence together one more time, paying attention to all the nuances we just discussed. Ready? Repeat. I definitely thought the water at the beach was salty. So, what does all of this dissection mean for you, the learner, on this deep dive with us? By breaking down these sentences, by looking closely at those specific pronunciation challenges and how they contrast with common errors, you're not just learning individual words in isolation or just memorizing abstract rules. You are learning the system, the underlying logic, the sort of phonetic DNA of English pronunciation and listening. You're actively building that crucial bridge between the static, often simplified English you might encounter in a textbook or a language app and the dynamic, interconnected, sometimes messy sounds of real-world, fast-paced conversation. This is how you unlock true fluency and gain the confidence to really navigate any English interaction.
I completely agree, and congratulations. Seriously, by engaging with this deep dive, you've taken truly significant steps to level up both your speaking and your listening skills. Remember, please, this isn't about achieving some kind of impossible, perfect native-like speech overnight. That's an unrealistic and frankly unnecessary goal for most people. This is about tangible progress, about consistent practice, and most importantly, about building your confidence one sound, one phrase, one successful conversation at a time. The journey to fluency is continuous, it's ongoing, and every single effort you make, every word you consciously try to imitate, every difficult sound you practice and master, every time you push through the discomfort of the 4-step listening method brings you closer to your ultimate goal of truly confident and clear communication in English. So this raises an important question for you, our dedicated listener, as we wrap up. How will you integrate these powerful strategies, these insights, into your daily English practice starting today or maybe tomorrow? Will you consciously try to make those flap D sounds instead of hard T's when you speak? Or perhaps dedicate just 5 minutes each day to practicing those tricky TH or STS endings? Maybe you'll try the 4-step listening method with a short podcast clip. That consistency and application is really what makes the most profound difference over time.
Absolutely. We truly hope this deep dive has been incredibly valuable for you. We poured our best insights and practical tips into it, and your engagement, just listening all the way through, it means the world to us. If you found these insights helpful, if you had some of those aha moments we talked about, please take just a moment right now to like this deep dive. Maybe share it with other English learners you know who might benefit from these strategies. And definitely subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss our future explorations into complex topics. Your support genuinely helps us continue bringing these in-depth analyses and practical guides to you. And here's a final thought for you to chew on, something to maybe inspire your very next steps in your English journey. Remember how we discussed that giving an off-the-cuff speech at Toastmasters, even though it might be terrifying, is where you grow the most? If doing something uncomfortable, something that stretches you beyond your current limits, is truly where you grow, Whether it's pushing yourself to speak up in an English group, attempting a challenging new pronunciation pattern, or consistently tackling fast audio with the four-step method. What one uncomfortable step will you commit to taking today or this week, immediately after finishing this deep dive, to push your English learning forward? Just one small, concrete step. Remember, your voice matters, your ideas deserve to be heard clearly, and your ability to understand others truly unlocks a world of connection, opportunity, and personal growth. Keep practicing, keep exploring, keep pushing those boundaries, and we'll be here with more deep dives to guide you on your incredible journey.